What happened when my friends said I was too nerdy? A month ago, my 5 best friends kicked me out of our group for actually doing my homework and showing up to class. Ty actually told me I was more boring than the instruction manual for a calculator nobody uses. We were eating lunch at our usual spot off campus when they cornered me, each taking turns explaining how my good grades were ruining their college experience. "You're 22 years old and you make everyone else look bad by trying," Ty said while the others agreed. Max jumped in saying I was the reason girls thought they were all losers. "We're not asking you to fail out, we're telling you to stop making us look stupid by comparison," Ty announced. Then he said something that made me realize these guys were completely screwed. "If you can't submit at least one plagiarized paper by next Friday, then you need to find some honor students to study with because we're done carrying your textbooks." I told them they were absolutely right about one thing. I was definitely done saving their grades and left knowing they were about to crash and burn. The first disaster happened when Ty called me 40 times at 2 in the morning because he just remembered he had a final exam in 6 hours. They tried to study using notes they found online, but the notes were for a completely different class at a completely different school. Brock showed up to the test with answers written on his palm, but got so nervous he was sweating through his hands and the ink turned into black soup running down his arm. The professor asked him if he needed medical attention and called the campus nurse. Then Max turned in a paper he bought online without checking it first. The paper still had the original buyer's name at the top and a watermark that said, "Sample essay, do not submit." When his professor called him in, he tried to argue that he was making a statement about capitalism in education. He called the group for backup at his academic hearing, but they showed up at the wrong building with printed screenshots of Wikipedia articles about free speech. Max got suspended, and his parents hired a tutor who was literally a high school junior. After that, Ty and Brock both hired the same guy to write their final papers. Instead of me catching this like I always did, they turned in identical essays about how Shakespeare invented the smartphone. Their professor read both papers to the entire class as an example of what not to do. Ty started crying and said he was being persecuted for his beliefs, while Brock stood on a chair shouting that grades were a social construct. Campus security had to escort them both out while they were still arguing about who plagiarized who. By the end of the month, their college careers were completely ruined because I wasn't there to check their work and remind them about deadlines. Max's parents saw his grades online, all Fs with professor comments like "did not attempt" and "submitted a recipe for brownies instead of research paper." His mom immediately moved him back home and enrolled him in community college with a note saying, "Let's try again, sweetheart." Ty lost his job offer when the company Googled him and found a video of him telling a librarian that reading was obsolete while trying to check out 30 books at once to prove a point. The HR person called him personally to say they were concerned about his critical thinking skills. The biggest mess came when they decided to do a group presentation to prove they didn't need help. They didn't read the assignment, so their presentation on global economics turned into a 40-minute rant about why professors were overpaid. Max started making up statistics like 90% of textbooks are never opened, while Ty drew random graphs on the whiteboard that didn't connect to anything. The department chair showed up after getting reports of academic chaos, but instead of having someone competent handle it like I always did, Brock tried to turn it into a debate about educational reform. He pulled up a PowerPoint that was just pictures of famous dropouts with the caption, "Explain this." Max live-streamed the whole thing with "College is a scam" as the title, which his parents, future employers, and academic advisor all watched as he got removed from the room yelling about his right to fail. The best part was when Ty screamed, "We need our nerd friend back. He's the only one who knows what a thesis statement is," while security was walking him out. Ty called me a week later from his parents' house where they had him doing SAT prep like he was 17 again. He was begging me to come back and offering to pay me to explain what citations were and why he needed them. I told him I was good, but thanks for finally admitting I was the only reason they made it to senior year, and hung up while he was still begging me to at least explain what plagiarism meant.